Hi, my name is Daudi Mugabi and this is Business Mike episode 12. My guest today is Jules Quinn. She's the founder and CEO of The Teashed, a British tea company that offers appealingly packaged blends of tea. In this episode, Jules shares some crucial entrepreneurial tips from her 4-year experience as a business owner. All this and more next on Business Mike. Thank you so much, Jules, for taking the time to join us on Business Mike. Could you briefly tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Jules. I have a tea company called The Teashed, which I started 4 years ago. We're based in Newcastle in England, and we import tea from across the world, design our own packaging, repack, and then distribute it back across the world.
And are you only based in Newcastle or other cities within the United Kingdom?
So we're just based in Newcastle, but of course we sell to other cities in the UK.
And is that in a particular outlet?
Different outlets. It's mainly like delis or farm shops or gift shops, because we focus more on the gifting side of tea rather than just a standard box of tea. It's looking at really nice packaging, and because tea is such a great gift, it works really well. Everyone loves a cup of tea. So,
well, one of the challenges small business owners have is when they start their business, they normally tend to ask their friends and family if it's a good idea, and majority of the time they'll say, oh yeah, it's brilliant, and it might not be in actual sense. So from your experience, what's the best place to find out, to get constructive feedback on whether your idea is valid or not?
I think the best place to get really good feedback is actually to start selling your product, but on a very small scale and perhaps with prototypes, and test the market and get people to actually pay for the product, and then see whether people will part with their cash for your product. And maybe you'll need to change the packaging a little bit. And you know, you could, if you're product based, you could start that through doing markets or selling at school fairs if that's the right market for you. And just trying like little bits before you start investing money, and just seeing whether people actually part with cash.
Right. Now, for a business like yours where basically you import the tea, and I'm assuming the suppliers normally tend to sell it in a bit of bulk. You can't just buy like small samples.
Yeah.
When you're testing it out, how much do you buy? Because I remember there's an interview where you said you'd rather buy a small amount expensively than a big amount cheaply, because then you'll have a lot of stock.
Yeah, that's right. So often when you first contact a supplier, they'll be like, minimum order is X amount, and that's your starting point. And then you just say, well, you know, we're a small business, we're trying to start out, this is what we think we can get up to, but in order for me to deal with you, I do need a smaller trial order to begin with, otherwise I'm going to have to go somewhere else. And, you know, you can play that card and quite a bit, and no matter how big your business is, you can always just try and say, I need a smaller amount, and they can only say no, and you can only keep pushing. So
you picked Sri Lanka specifically. Was there other countries that you had considered, or what brought you to Sri Lanka as the country to buy your tea?
Sri Lanka's got a really good reputation for really good quality tea. They also, I know with all the food safety and treating their staff fairly, I know that they're really good for that. So I wanted to work with a company who I knew would deliver on time, and also was a fair company to deal with.
Now, I'm just looking at your website just now. It's a really unique website in that it's not too flashy, and it's straight to the point. What tips can you give people that own a product-based business that's online that can help them sell their products more? What things on the homepage, for instance, do you suggest to put on that might be appealing to someone to buy?
The most important thing is making it easy to buy. So if on the homepage maybe you've got a bestseller where customers can click through and they can buy it really quickly, that is a really good thing to have on your website. So ease of purchase is good. And also for search engine optimization, it's really good when you can put relevant and new content onto your homepage. So be that through your blog that's pulled through. So any text that changes regularly can really help you with your search engine ranking. So I would focus on doing that foremost.
And how do you stay ahead of the competition? Obviously, at the point in time when you started, there were very few people selling tea. I'm assuming that right now there's many doing the same thing. How do you stay ahead of the curve? Do you try out your competitors' products? Do you get client feedback? How do you keep ahead?
We look at what's happening in the marketplace. Extending your product range is quite a good way of doing it, and dropping lines that don't sell, looking at different blends, looking at, we've recently launched, have you heard of bubble tea before?
Yes, I've seen it on your website. I hadn't heard of it before, but I just saw it on your website.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, so, that bubble tea is linked to tea. It originated in Taiwan, and it's traditionally an iced tea drink. So it's got a base of tea in, and then a fruity syrup, and then it has these juice bubbles which you suck up through a chunky straw, and they burst in your mouth with juice when you bite onto them. So they're a really exciting, fun thing. And when you're aware of things in the marketplace, often these cool new products come to light, and if you can link that in with your product and your brand, then you can extend your product range, and you can keep ahead of the trend by doing things like that. And that's what we've done with our poppable range, which has been really, really successful.
Wow. I read somewhere on the internet that you're expanding to Japan.
Yes.
These are people that take tea on a regular basis. So how is your product unique from what they have over there?
I think what the Japanese market really like is a British product, and obviously tea very rarely is from Britain. I think there's 2 plantations in the UK, but it's the whole made in Britain and imported, and the feel of the brand is very British and young and trendy, so that's what they really like. So we're not really selling just tea, we're selling a brand from England. The tea's amazing, the packaging's, I think, amazing as well. So it's all of those things that we sell.
And how do you determine a price? Pricing is one of those things that's tricky, especially if you're just entering the market, because you don't want to make it at a level that's up there with the people that are already in the business, and you don't want to make it too low, because then people might say, well, that's too cheap, I don't think it's worth it. So how do you determine the best price for a very new product?
At the start, when you are doing your markets and testing things, just have a little play with pricing. See how sales sort of change and people's reaction to prices change, because sometimes it could just be 50 pence difference, and if you sell double the amount of units for 50 pence cheaper, it's probably better than selling it fewer units at a more expensive price if it's better, if it works out better. So at the beginning, just trialing out different prices and see what people's reactions are. That's what we did with the poppable range. I won't tell you what we started at, but it changed in price.
Okay, this is a question that I struggle with sometimes with my podcast, and that's the newsletter. When you've got a subscription list, what sort of information do you give to your mailing list, and how often do you do it?
So we do a newsletter about every quarter, not that often, because we update our social media so regularly. I think if people are that interested on a regular basis, they relate better to seeing a post on Facebook rather than on an email. I once spoke to someone who said a newsletter, people should be excited to open it. There should be something exciting. It should be they should be looking forward to it, not you just send it out because, it's that time of the month again, I need to be sending a newsletter out, I'll stick anything in. It has to be really engaging with clicks through to your website, and have a real purpose is the most important thing.
What to you are the key aspects when it comes to branding? I noticed your brand is rather playful, and you're a bit fortunate because you studied branding and fashion design. But what is it about branding that you think captivates customers the most, especially in your industry, tea? Do you think is it the colors? Is it the packaging? Is it the logo? What about the branding is it that appeals to customers?
Yeah, I think that you're right. Like the colour definitely stands out if you look at most shelves. They're not that vibrant. I think more so nowadays people are being a bit more creative with colour. So yeah, colour, the feel of the packaging as well. So some of our packaging actually has like a sort of a vinyl-y feel because of the type of board that we use, and then obviously we use the paper cups which are ripple. So that's a nice feel. So it's all about thinking about the look and the feel and how you hold the product as well. It's really important. So yeah.
What about your personality? Sometimes when you start a business, you might want to inject a bit of your personality in it. For instance, if you're someone that's bubbly and playful, you might want that to come across, but then sometimes you're advised against it, especially depending on the industry you're going in. Like tea, for instance, I think this is the first brand I've seen that's a bit playful. Most of them are pretty straight to the point. So what advice would you give to anyone that's going into business with regards to injecting their personality?
I think it's good to inject personality if it does work for your product and brand. Because otherwise, how do you stand out? So if you do have, if it is a very personal brand, then I think it can work quite well. Often it doesn't. For example, tea rooms, I think that's one that I see quite often, where it will be like you go into someone's tea room, probably like an independent one, and it's what that person sort of would have in their house. And that isn't always to other people's taste. So sometimes you do have to take a step back and think, you've got to make things a bit commercial, because people are used to Starbucks and Pret and all these places that are chains, and there's a standard. And when you go a bit too much, people just don't get it. So a little bit of personality is good, but not too much. I have to rein it in a bit, because otherwise I would have patterns and colour everywhere. It would be a bit crazy, so...
Now, you're a big advocate for girl power and women emancipation.
Yeah.
What's your favorite girl power movie?
Favorite girl power movie? Oh, I don't know. I think I studied media studies when I was at school, and it was really interesting to watch film noirs and the position of women in that in the early days, and then sort of as it became more like current, I think Sin City was one of them, where women actually became like the powerful ones in it, and they would kill men, and that's really interesting to look at that. So
yeah, I haven't watched Mad Max, but I hear that's another one as well.
Oh really? Is it? Oh right.
Yeah.
I'll have to go watch it. Yeah.
You were recently at the Prime Minister's residence not too long ago. What was that like?
Yeah, so it was part of Startup Britain. They have a bus that's touring the UK and reaching out to young people and older people, I think, as well, who want to start their own business and giving them advice. And so this was the launch of that bus at number 10 Downing Street, and it was brilliant. I got my picture taken outside number 10. And yeah, David Cameron was there, and that was amazing. And, you know, just to think that sometimes when you run your own business, it's just business, and you're dealing with emails, and you're not really like taking a step back and thinking, wow, this is actually pretty cool. So when you get an opportunity like that, you think, wow, yeah, this is pretty awesome. Even when things go wrong, you know, it's worth it in the end.
Okay, and now for the most important question. How was the tea at number 10 Downing Street?
He didn't offer me any tea, actually. I got a cupcake, though, which was really nice. But yeah, hopefully one day he'll place an order. I keep refreshing my orders to see if David Cameron, number 10 Downing Street's placed one, but he hasn't.
What's the biggest order you've ever received?
I think, the biggest order was John Lewis. The most random biggest order that we had probably in the first 6 months was Dean and DeLuca department store in the Middle East. They randomly got in touch and placed a really big order, and I was like, wow, okay, you've cleared us out of tea now. That was amazing. So yeah.
Wow.
Okay, when it comes to expanding your business, let's say going to different countries, how do you determine what country to go to next? Is it through market research in terms of the tea consumption there? Do you have friends there that tell you what the market is like? How do you determine, for instance, how did you determine to go to Japan?
With Japan, it was actually a business friend who recommended this distributor, and that just happened, a lot of distributors actually just get in touch with us. So we are starting one in Russia who randomly found us online. A lot of them just get in touch. And then if there's a particular market that I think of, it's probably because I've seen a trend or we seem to be getting online sales from that country. So I know that tea is popular. So that's good. And then we work alongside UKTI, which is UK Trade and Investment, and they can help you do market research in the different countries that you want to get into. So there's lots of different ways.
During our pre-interview chat, you asked me how I found out about the Teashed. What's the most common way people get to learn about your brand, and what would you advise people that want to get their brand out there? What medium should they use that's very effective for your case in this example?
Everything online is just fantastic. So if you can get your name featured in like what you saw with the startup articles, they're amazing because so many people read them. So getting your name into these articles with bloggers, having your own social media sites, being really active, talking to people, engaging with people. And then what we've recently been doing as well is Facebook advertisements, and you can choose which segment of people you target, and that's really effective. You've got to pay for it, but it works. So.
And when it comes to the financial bit of it, the accounting bit of it, most people, when they start small, they do the accounting themselves, but as they expand and become bigger, it becomes a bit difficult. At what stage did you seek help from outside to do your accounting?
Straight away, I had an accountancy firm that I worked with to help with VAT returns and things like that. So we were VAT registered from the start, so we had to do that. And then we got a bookkeeper who did all that sort of logging or everything, and probably after about 6 months. I think it's really worth doing because they know what they're doing and they can actually save you money. So more often than not, they pay for themselves. And there's a lot of online software which you can use, which helps you to do it yourself, which is really good. And then you can even get your bookkeeper to use that software as well. So I would recommend, if you can afford it, to get an accountant and bookkeeper as soon as possible.
And as a business owner, what's the minimum knowledge you should have with regards to accounting?
You can read so much online to help you. It's quite confusing because there are a lot of different things that you need to think about. If you can talk to people who've done it before, that's really helpful. I didn't know anything, so I think you can start from nothing and learn.
Jules, I must say, for someone that has had as much success as you have, you're pretty down to earth. So I must ask, how do you stay grounded? Like, what keeps you normal, if I can use that word?
Well, I don't think I've had that much success, really. So I think probably that. I think there's so much more I want to do. I wish that there were more hours in the day so I could do more. So I don't really see it that successful yet. I'm really proud of where we've come to, and I don't take that for granted. But I want more. So.
Well, that's why I have podcasts like this, so I can showcase people from Europe. You can expand your market to Africa. Lots of my listeners are African and American, so hopefully they can listen to this and get in touch with you.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate it so much. And it's people like you who are spreading the Teashed word that help the business grow, and I'm just so grateful for that. So thank you.
No problem. Are there any tips you can give us with regards to dealing with an overseas supplier? People are in different industries. Some are selling shoes, others tea like yourself, others shirts, and so on. What advice, based on your experience, can you give us with regards to dealing with an overseas supplier?
Have a look at the legal implications and how is that going to work, and have a contract drawn up and understand that, and how are you going to work payment as well. How is that going to come to you, and what's going to happen if you don't get paid, and just sort of protecting yourself is really important. And understanding the market as well. Do you need to change your product slightly to work? Is there anything that you can do to help your distributor? It's really good. You should be working together to make it happen.
You're from Newcastle, so for anyone that hasn't been there, what's the best place to see or visit when they go to Newcastle?
The Teashed! That's probably the best place in Newcastle, I think. We don't have an outlet at the moment. We've had a couple of pop-ups in Fenwick Food Hall, so we had a bar there, and we had a tea shed, which was really successful. And we do a lot of pop-ups, so if people do come to Newcastle, they should check our social media sites and see if we've got anything on. Other than that, Newcastle Quayside is beautiful, Gateshead Quayside is beautiful, the Tyne Bridge, there's so many independent bars and cafes. Tynemouth Beach is so beautiful everywhere, and Northumberland, the countryside, is fantastic. So there's loads to explore up here.
I'm looking at some of your products here on your website, and there's a Mr. T infuser. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
So we not only sell tea, but we also sell tea attire, so products that complement tea. Those products, we just buy them in. So I haven't designed that or made that. So the Mr. T, you fill his pants with tea leaves, and then you dunk in some hot water, and then he infuses your water with tea. So it's just a fun product, really, and it adds a bit of variety to the website.
And how effective are these add-on products with regards to selling your tea? Do you sell a lot of them? Do you find that people buy those products and the tea as well?
No, to be honest with you. We don't sell a lot of it compared to the tea at all. At Christmas time we do, for events and things, like Valentine's Day or Mother's Day, then they sell really well. But the rest of the time it's sort of sporadical, really. But they look cool, don't they? And it gives you something to talk about, so...
I really like the Mr. T infuser.
We do sell quite a few of them, actually. And the walrus one as well.
Okay, well, final question. If you were the host of this podcast, if this were your show, basically, what's the one question you'd ask me?
The one question I'd ask you is... Firstly, I'd ask you what's your favourite cup of tea? And do you actually drink a lot of tea?
I'm more of a hot chocolate person.
But is there a market for tea?
Yes, there is. Yes, definitely there is. Africans tend to drink a lot of tea. We're just like the British. We have tea in the morning, tea in the evening. We don't have the afternoon tea though, but certainly in the evening we do take tea.
And what kind of tea?
It's dry tea. Most of the time we've got the tea leaves in there, and sometimes we take African tea with milk. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a variation of both.
Do you drink black tea or red bush tea?
Black tea.
And is there any stores that I should be getting in touch with out there?
I'll definitely do you a solid and have a look around and be in touch.
Amazing, yes. There you go. That's my question, my bit of market research.
Well, how can people get in touch with you with the T-Shed on social media or the website?
Yeah, so on Twitter we are _Teashed, spelled TEASHED. Facebook is /The Teashed. We're on Instagram /The Teashed. Pinterest as well, and our website is www.the-teashed.co.uk.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Jules, and thank you for all the lessons you've given us today.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much, and I hope some people can find some information there that they can use to start their own business.
Thanks a lot, Jules. I really appreciate it, and I'll definitely get in touch with regards to distributors here in Uganda and Africa in general.
That would be fantastic. Thank you so much.
All right, Jules. Thanks a lot.
All right, bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Business Mike today. And if you'd like to listen to more episodes just like this one, simply go to businessmike.com. For all the links and resources mentioned in this particular episode, simply type the name Jules into the search bar to access her show notes page. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, take care.